Unmute. How are we there? Do we have it? Okay, yes. Here we go. I think so. I think everything's said here, Yeah, it's all plugged in. We should have some sound. Um, okay. Yeah, we do. I see it right there. We have sound. Well, week 13, everybody, has ended in the NFL. Well, not really. The Buccaneers will play tonight. I think they're playing the Saints. And, well, we'll save that game for another discussion. Both those teams they're playing the NFC South. And I think the record's like they're below 500. They're below 500. Yeah, they're below 500. 1-6-5. I think the other one is 4-8. They're really not that far apart. But let's start. There were a ton of games played in the NFL yesterday. I am Clay Morris from the Major Great Sports Network, and I'm here to talk about what happened. So let's start off. Let's start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Steelers have won 7 Super Bowls. The Falcons have won none. For that alone, the Steelers should have been allotted this game. But no, the game still had to be played, and the Steelers won anyway, 19-16. That's right, 19-16, 7 Super Bowls. You think they just give them the game and just call it a day because neither one of these teams are going anywhere. But this game was marked by bad quarterback play on both sides. Kenny Pickett, the quarterback, Steelers quarterback, who was a rookie, only threw for 197 yards. Atlanta's quarterback, Marcus Mariota, threw for even less, for 167. It was a back and forth affair with little to show for it because each team only scored 1 touchdown. That's right, 1 touchdown for the Steelers, 1 touchdown for the Falcons. And all the rest of the points were gained by field goals, which means it was kind of boring. Well, this game could have been won or lost by either team, but Atlanta is more comfortable with losing. And for that reason, that was the reason why I picked the Steelers to win, and I was right. Now, the hapless Green Bay Packers, those guys, Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, that $50 million bundle baby, took on their favorite bedtime stuffed animals, the Chicago Bears, and as usual, beat the stuffing out of the Bears, 28-19. Now, Chicago did have a lead, 19-10, going into the fourth quarter. But after trading away their best defensive plays over the course of the season, that lead was not going to last, and it didn't. None of it mattered anyway, because the season was over for both of these teams before they ever played the games. Why? Because the Minnesota Vikings lead that division by 5 games. And they kept that lead with a 27-22 win over the New York Jets. Now, the story of this game is that the Jets had a chance to win this game a number of times. But we're just going to go over the last one. The last time occurred when the score was 27-22, which is how it ended, with 1 minute and 48 seconds left in the game. The New York Jets had the ball on the Vikings' 5-yard line. 5-yard line, ladies and gentlemen. They only had to go 5 yards in order to win this game. But first and goal, 4 downs to go, they couldn't get the ball in, and they turned the ball over. Couldn't get the ball in the end zone. So after turning the ball over, the Vikings didn't advance it. They were still at the 5-yard line. So they kicked the ball back to the the Jets. And the Jets, with 40 seconds on the clock, still couldn't go down the score, and that's the game. Anyway, the game was right there for them to win, but they didn't win it. Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins only passed for 173 yards and 1 touchdown. Jets quarterback Mike White had over 300 yards passing, but no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Now, the Jets have a quarterback problem on their hands. Neither Mike White or Zach Wilson can get it done, and time is running out. Click, click, tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence had the unenviable task, and he got hurt yesterday, of playing the Detroit Lions, and regretted it. It was a mismatch because the Lions are bigger than the Jaguars, in real life. A lion is about 500 pounds and the Jaguars about 250. Anyway, the Lions skinned the Jaguars 40-14. Yeah, 40-14. Jeff Goff That Jeff Goff, yeah, that Jeff Goff that we always know and love. Well, he actually passed for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns, as if he was back in the days he was with Los Angeles when he was a real quarterback. The Lions rushed for over 100 yards, and Detroit dominated the game. Time of possession, they were 8 for 12 on third downs, and they only punted once. That's all great, and we love Detroit. I love Detroit. I would like to see Detroit go to the playoffs, but it's probably not going to happen because it is with deep regret that I inform the Detroit Lions and the city of Detroit that the only thing that's going to happen is it won't mean much. This win won't mean much because it just means they won't be last in the division because they started a little bit too late. They found themselves a little too late. And the team that they were playing, Jacksonville, well, they won't be at the bottom of their division either because guess what? The Houston Texans play in the same division, and the Houston Texans only have 1 win for the whole season. And speaking of the Houston Texans, well, they were playing the Cleveland Browns. Yes, those Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns were coming into town to play Houston with Houston's old quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Fresh off his suspension for a year, and he didn't play the year before that. Actually, he didn't play the year before that, and he was suspended for, I think, 10 or 12 games. Anyway, this is his first game back. And as expected, the ending was predictable as 9 out of the other 11 games that Houston has played, they lost. The final score was 27-14 with an interesting caveat. You see, Cleveland's offense, even with Deshaun Watson, did not produce a touchdown. Not at all. It was 27-14, but Cleveland's offense didn't score a touchdown. 2 touchdowns were scored by Cleveland's defense, and the other came from a punt return. Deshaun Watson on his first game back looked a bit rusty. His mechanism and his time was off. But you know what? If Cleveland's defense keeps scoring, he won't be needed. So it doesn't matter. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles body slammed. Yes, suplex, flying elbow. The Tennessee Titans 35-10. Just as I predicted. Yes, I predicted this too. Why? Well, it was easy to predict. You see, those same Titans, they play in the same division as the Jaguars and the Texans, and they are so far up, they have nothing to worry about. They could probably lose the rest of the games, and they'll still be ahead. Philadelphia, on the other hand, has a little bit to worry about because the Cowboys are still sniffing up, chasing them. But there's another reason why I predicted Philadelphia to win, because they are lean, mean, and hungry. They will beat another team up just because they are feeling that they should and they want to, and they can't wait to get at the team that's put in front of them. Now, the Titans were lucky. It was 35-10. They were lucky to get those 10 points. And the score was 21-10 at halftime. And they could have called the game right then because the Titans didn't score anymore for the duration of the game. That was it. That was done at halftime. The Eagle quarterback, Jalen Hurts, has rounded into form. He threw for 380 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he could have gone for more. The Eagle defense sacked Ryan Tannehill 6 times. As I said, Philly is lean, mean, long, and strong, and they are my favorites to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC. That being said, in a game that I predicted that could go either way, yes, the contest between the New York Football Giants and the Washington Commanders ended in a 20-20 tie. Washington, the reason why I said that, see, New York jumped out. They won, I think they won 5 of their first 6 games, and everyone was calling them world beaters at the time, and they did look like it. But as the season has gone on, New York has regressed, and Washington, which was losing its games early, has actually progressed. They benched Carson Wentz for Taylor Heineke, and their season changed. That being said, Daniel Jones and the Giants have not done that. Now, these 2 teams are on the outside looking in at the playoffs anyway, and this tie leaves them right where they started, on the outside looking in. In an interesting game, because I predicted Baltimore would win, but by a crazy amount, the Baltimore Ravens without Lamar Jackson, because Lamar Jackson injured his knee in the first quarter. We don't think it's serious. They don't think it's serious. Talk about we. I didn't even look at his knee. I have no idea what it looks like. But The team does not think it's serious that it's going to be a season-ending injury, but they managed to scrape by the lowly Denver Broncos with their $50 million bonus baby, Russell Wilson. Now, Denver was leading this game because Lamar Jackson went out in the first quarter. Denver was leading this game, and well into the fourth, they were leading it 9-3. They were about to steal this game. But as it has happened in Denver all year, they just couldn't close the deal. So Ravens' backup quarterback, he sprinted 6 yards. They were down on the 6-7 yard line. He sprinted 6 yards into the end zone, and he tied the game at 9. And then the extra point gave Baltimore the lead with 1:28 left in the game, and that is how it ended. Baltimore is still tied with the Bengals for the division because the Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals, as I predicted, defeated the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, 27-24. As I predicted. Yes. The Bengals ran for more yards. They passed for more yards. They held the ball longer than Kansas City. And the Bengals defense is better than the Chiefs defense. In essence, the Bengals are a more balanced team than the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs may lead the division and will definitely get into the playoffs. But if they don't get more balance, it might be a quick exit. Now, in another 4 o'clock game, the San Francisco 49ers defeated the Miami Dolphins 33-17. And as I predicted, but I just didn't see it being done by a backup quarterback because Jimmy Garoppolo, he went out injured in the first quarter with an ankle injury. And they brought in a backup, or their backup, named Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy. Never heard of him. Anyway, the score was 7-3 Dolphins by the end of the first quarter. 7-3 Dolphins when Garoppolo went out. But by the end of the first quarter, it was 10-7, and they never looked back. Brock Purdy threw for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. San Francisco had more total yards than Miami. They possessed the ball twice as long. They had the ball twice as long as Miami. The Dolphins dropped to second place in the AFC, but they are still in the hunt behind Buffalo, behind the Buffalo Bills. So they still look good. They're only 1 game behind. Anything could happen. And they're probably going to be in the wild card anyway because their record's pretty good. Now, as I predicted, this was a banner week. I think I only had 2 games wrong, and one of them was the Jets. It might even be only 1 game. But anyway, the Seattle Seahawks beat the Los Angeles Rams. No, there was one more now that I remember. The Seattle Seahawks beat the Los Angeles Rams, as I predicted, 27-23, or as everyone expected. Why? Because the Rams had already waved the white flag earlier in the week before the game even started by placing quarterback Matthew Stafford on the injured reserve list and shutting down Aaron Donald for the rest of the season. The only thing surprising about this game is how poorly the Seahawks defense played to let the game get this close. And in the last 4 o'clock game of the day, the Las Vegas Raiders defeated the Los Angeles Chargers 27-20 to spoil what would have been nearly a flawless day of me being right in my predictions. I was only wrong in the Jets and in the Raiders, who were supposed to lose. But then again, the odds are always against you in Vegas. Pun intended. Now, Vegas won because Derek Carr threw for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Josh Jacobs ran for 144 yards and a touchdown. And the Chargers did what they usually do, which is play down to the competition and lost the game. There is not a team in the NFL with more talent and less to show for it than the Los Angeles Chargers. And in the final game of the night, which I predicted, which probably everyone predicted, the Dallas Cowboys Bulldogs roped and branded the Indianapolis Colts 54-19. Yes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and sports fans everywhere. 54-19. It's like a basketball score. That's a basketball game. But I'm going to tell you something. As crazy as this is about to sound to you, the game was actually closer than it appeared. I'll prove my point. At the end of three quarters and going into the fourth, the game was fairly even. I mean, really, it was fairly even. Dallas led 21-19, but it was fairly even, and it looked like anybody's ball game. But then came the fourth, and in the fourth quarter, the Dallas Cowboys defense put the whip to the Colts. Two fumbles, two interceptions, and 33 points later, it was mercifully over. Over, finally over. Yes. But the big prize is next week, the Cowboys get to play the Texans and pick up yet another easy win. And so that's it. That's it for the review of Week 13 on the Amazing Grace Sports Network. I hope it was as much pleasure for you as it has been for me. And remember, sports fans, remember this. You are the most important person in sports. That's right. So if your team lost, don't worry about it. You still have you. Don't let life pass you by in anger or sadness about something that happened in sports. Well, I can think of Senegal. Don't be too unhappy. You lost to England. And for the USA Men's Soccer League, don't be too unhappy that you lost to the Netherlands. Think about what you want in life, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe you want to learn a new language. I mean, if you're a fan of the Bears, the Broncos, the Rams, or the Steelers, or at least a half dozen more teams, now is the time to start learning that new language. I mean, think about it. They're not going anywhere. Those teams aren't going anywhere. Most, I think there's about 12 or 15 teams are already out, and they're not going anywhere this season. The season's over. Okay, the season's over for them. So you have all the time in the world for the next 6 Sundays to start doing something you like. Like, as I said, learning a new language. Now, how about Italian? Okay. Grazie per essere presentato che vediamo domani martedì NBA, which in Italian means thank you for showing up. See you tomorrow on NBA Tuesday. Ciao.